The President proposes to forgive student loans with a wave of his hand. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. Well, the President has done it. Millions of college students who borrowed money from the American taxpayer will not have to pay all of it back, or maybe not have to pay any of it back. Instead, the government will forgive student loans, in part, at first. President Biden has clearly exceeded his authority, no matter what his allies in Congress wish to pretend. More than that, he'll add $300 billion to the national debt, allegedly over 10 years. And to what high purpose? Training a generation of educated derelicts, while openly mocking those who save for their or their children's college education. Before we get into this disgusting story, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of great merchandise there, including this t-shirt that I've selected for today, which reads, "Do not bear false witness." False witness is only part of this deal. The other part is borrowing what we don't have. Shakespeare was right. Neither a borrower nor a lender be, for loan oft loses loan as well as friend, and borrowing dulls the edge of husbandry. Hamlet, Act 1, Scene 3, lines 75 through 77. All right, let's put this out of its misery. The White House posted the mechanism for forgiving student loans on a fact sheet. I've left a link to it in the description. And by the way, this fact sheet reads more like a political campaign flyer than a government bulletin. Biden proposes to forgive balances of up to $20,000 for recipients of Pell Grants and $10,000 for other student borrowers. Naturally, this has a means test. A maximum annual income of $125,000 for individuals or $250,000 for married couples. The fact sheet also explicitly says, and I quote, "No high-income individual or high-income household in the top 5% of incomes will benefit from this action." In addition, student loan repayment will pause again to the end of 2022. It already paused to this month. The fact sheet goes on to propose limiting payments to 5% of our borrower's discretionary income, whatever that is, free community college, doubling the maximum Pell Grant size, and tuition controls. That's right. He's going to try to tell colleges and universities not to raise tuition beyond the amount he thinks is fair. Well, good luck with that. But I digress. I've also left a link in the description to a tweet on the POTUS Twitter account, linking to this program. For his authority to forgive student loans, Biden relies on legislation Congress passed in 2003 in a fit of bipartisanship. John Solomon's site called Just the News gives the details. The law involved is called the Higher Education Relief Opportunities for Students Act, or HEROES Act for short. Under it, the Secretary of Education, and again I quote, may waive or modify any statutory or regulatory provision applicable to the student financial assistance programs under Title IV of this Act as the Secretary deems necessary in connection with a war or other military operation or national emergency. The emergency the President is using to justify or excuse this action today is none other than the virus that shall remain nameless. But that kind of emergency declaration became untenable earlier this month. The Centers for Disease Control rescinded most of their guidelines for slowing the spread of that nameless virus. To be specific, the CDC no longer supports mandatory testing of anyone who walks in with quarantine or those who test positive but have no symptoms, social distancing of 6 feet or further, or preferential treatment of those who take the jab or get themselves boosted. So obviously the CDC no longer supports the narrative that people would drop like flies. They even abandoned the centerpiece of their plan, the vaccine mandate. Someone must have told them that never once did any Diener squad push or drive a meat wagon down a city street, ring a bell, and shout, "Bring out your dead!" In other words, this isn't the Black Death and everybody knows it. And that's even assuming that the HEROES Act itself was constitutional to begin with. I maintain that it is unconstitutional on its face. And I'll say more about this so-called HEROES Act later on. This program will not satisfy the progressives. If by to satisfy you mean to give them everything for which they could possibly ask. The American political left seems to have abandoned their incremental approach to building Soviet-style communism in America. They want it all, and they want it now, today, this instant. In fact, Senator Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts, 3.5 years ago, called for free college for everyone and canceling all student loans, not just the first $10,000 or $20,000, for more than 95% of Americans who owe it. 3.5 years ago, she tweeted that on her Twitter account. It's still up, and I've left a link in the description. In fact, this program doesn't seem to satisfy anyone except a handful of dedicated communards in New York City and other large cities in this country. All political hands see the one thing the president missed. It transfers wealth from working class families to wealthier families. The program says nothing about refusing to forgive student loans for anyone who has family members to whom they could turn for family loans. The means test applies to the borrower, but not to the borrower's parents or other family. The fact sheet stressed the racial equity benefit of the program, saying blacks are more likely to take out student loans than whites and to borrow more. Derek Johnson, the head of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, is having none of that. But why isn't he having any of it? Because he wants the president to cancel $50,000 or more of student loans. Now, I know some of you are asking, but what about those of us who saved for or worked their way through college? I'm going to talk about that next, but first, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is oursilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You are not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins, or take advantage of the business opportunities that company provides, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. All right, so what about people who did the sensible thing? Well, already people are asking that question. One angry father challenged Senator Warren on that very point. And separately, when someone asked people what portion of their income they would donate for free college for all, people balked. I have links in the description to 2 videos from a truly excellent channel called The Officer Tatum that include those scenes and some very incisive commentary. Now, I'll tell you what the problem is. It's really very simple. This program provides no refunds to families who put money by and help their loved ones through college, students who, instead of borrowing, literally work their way through college, or students who took out loans, all right, and then paid them back. You know what the president just called all these people? You want to know what Senator Warren might as well have thrown into the face of that father? Sure you do. I'm not going to belt out that nasty word to you. What do you think I am, Howard Stern? But you know what I'm talking about. It's the name any con artist throws at someone after he's just taken him to the cleaners. A two-syllable word that starts with an S. But here's at least one Democrat smart enough to say he wants no part of this, or at least he doesn't want his name on it. Representative Chris Pappas, who represents New Hampshire's 1st District, slammed the president's plan. He says, in effect, let's pass an act of Congress and do it right. And also limit it to those in vital professions. Not, one presumes, woke majors or art majors or anything like that. I have a link in the description to a tweet having at least the image of his official statement. Now listen, everybody. I didn't have this channel 3 years ago, but I did have CNAV. And on that site, I pointed out that college will not benefit everyone who goes to it today. 95% of college students are going to college for the wrong reasons or in unrealistic job expectations. Contrary to popular belief, you don't have to go to college to earn a good living. And also contrary to popular belief, a college degree does not guarantee you a good job. Yeah, if you're my age, you remember the PSAs telling everybody to get a good job, get a good education. Well, I have a word for that message, but it's not a word I care to repeat in polite company. Instead, I'm going to give you the most cost-effective way to use a college education if you think you have the brains for it and the diligence and determination to work your seat off. First, excel in your science and math classes and other major areas too, and earn advanced standing, which means acceleration credit when you reach college. Second, major in science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, commonly known as STEM. Finally, cash in your acceleration credits and get your degree in 3 years, not 4. And in some institutions, take advantage of combined degree programs. You will save 25% of the cost of a bachelor's degree, at least. More than that, you will save time. Then you can get the high-paying job that will pay off your student loan in record time, if you had to borrow money anyway. All the above even assumes that you can qualify for those STEM jobs. Now, not everyone can. And if you don't think you can, don't go that route. And think about whether you should bother with college anyway. Hey, somebody has to dig the ditches. I don't care what Isaac Asimov predicted in his Foundation Universe story arc. We are not going to automate all the dirty jobs in our society. Get that idea out of your head. So do you want to be a ditch digger is no longer a valid question. Vocational technical training, especially including apprenticeships, must resume their place as honorable career tracks. This country needs its ditch diggers, plumbers, and electricians. It does not need woke study professors and other educated derelicts. Is what Biden is doing even legal? Now, I am not a lawyer, but I know where to get the opinions of lawyers, and a growing number of real legal eagles are saying no. The waiver authority of the HEROES Act, they say, gives flexibility to handle individual hardship cases. It does not authorize the government to cancel student loans for the sake of canceling student loans. That kind of program effectively spends new money or transfers debt onto taxpayers' shoulders, which amounts to the same thing. And you can only do either thing with an act of Congress. In the last weeks of the Trump administration, the General Counsel of the Department of Education clearly understood that. The GC wrote a memo to then Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. I have a link in the description to where you can download and read it for yourselves. But today, you're not going to find that memo on any government site. The original link to that 8-page memo now resolves to HTTP 404, page not found. And if that isn't enough of a kick in the head, the Speaker of the House has rescinded her opinion that she gave back in last year, a year and a half ago, that the President could not do this. All I wish to say that the legal eagles are encouraging opponents of this plan to sue in federal court. The current Supreme Court would almost certainly strike this down. And even if they don't, it's worth a try. After all, the administration has had the courts block or strike down many of its orders. More to the point, this is yet another midterms voting issue. Vote against any Democrat, but especially any Democrat who, like the Speaker, apologizes for such a program. Link in the description of the article, to the White House fact sheet and POTUS tweet, to Senator Warren's tweet promising free college for all, to the 2 videos I mentioned, to the tweet with Chris Pappas' statement, to the General Counsel's memo saying this kind of thing is illegal, and to conservative news and views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and to oursilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. And if you like what you've heard, you can like this video and click the bell icon to get notices as soon as I put on another video. On the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link and a link to those 2 videos I mentioned from Officer Tatum and a video I made back in May, which is the last time I talked about this subject. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.